advice would you give to your younger self?
Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and everything that your heart desires will be provided for you.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
So, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your younger self?
That's a good one. Pull the trigger and go to med school.
So, knowing what you know now in life, what type of advice would you give your younger self?
My younger self, what type of advice would I give my younger self? I wish you would have asked me the question before you asked me. Before the recording. My younger advice, stay in school, stay as busy as you can with, positive things, boxing, the gym, sports. Don't give yourself any time to get in trouble, because the trouble you get into when you were a kid, it's just not worth, the wreckage of the past that you deal with in the future. That's probably the advice I would give myself.
Okay, thank you, brother. Okay, so knowing what you know now
About
just life, just in general.
Okay.
Like, what advice would you give your younger self?
not to worry about what other people think about me.
Okay. So knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your younger self?
But that's a heavy question. Damn, I don't know, man. That's a heavy question. Knowing what I know now, shit, maybe 10 years, 15 years ago, I'd say invest in yourself like a lot sooner. Invest in yourself because, like whatever it is that you want to pursue, like invest in that. Because you have plenty of time to make a lot of mistakes. When you're young, you got time to recover. So invest in yourself, make mistakes, learn from that shit, and try to do something for yourself instead of making someone else rich.
So knowing what you know now in life, what advice would you give your younger self?
My younger self, so the advice that I would give myself would be try to take things in life personal. There's a lot of things that come your way that aren't meant to hurt you, but meant to help you in many ways. So I'll give that. And another thing would be to kind of take it easy.
All right.
This time.
So knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your younger self?
Don't date that redhead.
Knowing what you know now in life, what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, good Lord. Jeez. Obey the law. That's it right there.
That's
Obey
the
the law. Yes. Yes. Drugs are bad. Sleeping around ain't cool. Obey the law.
So knowing what you know now in life, what advice would you give to your younger self?
To try to be positive in most of my life, rather than see the world in a negative way.
Thank you. Knowing what you know now in life, what advice would you give your younger self?
Patience, less judgment, and don't waste those years that I wasted being a wise guy.
Thank you. So knowing what you know now in life, what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, shit. Don't work so hard. Nobody ever died on their deathbed wishing they worked another day in their life. Enjoy your life while you got it.
So knowing what you know now in life, what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, that's a jacked up question. Go to college.
Thank you, brother.
All right, man.
So knowing what you know now in life, what advice would you have for your younger self?
I would tell myself to not make any changes to what I did throughout my life, but to do it with more happiness. That's it.
Thank you. So knowing what you know now in life, what advice would you give your younger self?
Do the right thing. Take the high road and see where it takes you.
Knowing what you know now in life, what advice would you give your younger self?
My younger self? I guess I would say don't worry about anything. Like, live by faith every day. Even though we have a certain amount of faith, it's hard sometimes. But because what's going to happen is going to happen. We don't have control of certain things. And so just to live, to love, not to regret anything. Really follow your desires.
Knowing what you know now in life, what advice would you give your younger self?
Think twice before you speak and act.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So knowing what you know now, what type of advice would you give your younger self?
Discipline is key. Know the Lord is greater than you. And go hard. Pull everything out of this life that you possibly can. That's what you came for.
There you go. So knowing what you know now, what advice would you have for your younger self?
For my younger self?
Yeah.
If I could do it all over again.
Everything.
Everything. I would. Everything. I've had a great life.
That's awesome.
It's been a good deal. Yeah.
So knowing what you know now, what kind of advice would you give your younger self?
Save your money and take care of yourself. Don't take care of everybody else.
So knowing what you know now in life, what advice would you give your younger self?
Never lose your health. Never over prioritize anything else over your health. I just think I go back and think, like, if I just would have kept my health right from the jump, then the amount of energy that I would have had, I could have created so much more. So that's my advice. Never prioritize anything above your health except God.
Thank you, brother. Let's go.
Gosh, that's a tough one. Invest in yourself. Put yourself first. You know, even if you have a family, because you got to take care of yourself to take care of others. Put yourself first. Invest in yourself, whether it's both physically and mentally, and be healthy. Stay healthy. Yeah.
Thank you. So knowing what you know now in life, what advice would you give your younger self?
Take time to enjoy and live in the moment. You can't change the past, and you certainly don't know what the future always brings, so try to be present.